everyone, Virtual MC Thamarasan here from Chennai Professionals. In our online interview series today, I take pleasure to introduce a person with over 25 years of experience in the learning and development industry. Professionally, he offers end-to-end solution for corporates and institutions in the learning and development space. An individual who has been recognized with national level accolades for developing solutions for incremental revenue generation. He is an individual with multifaceted persona, a public speaker, a coach, a mentor, and a total quality management consultant for Six Sigma and NLP. I'm elated to have Mr. Abhishek Sengupta here, the founder of BRIM Training Solutions that undertakes total quality management and organizational reengineering assignments. Welcome, Mr. Abhishek.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, RK.
Well, Abhishek, when I went through your CV and a lot of your videos, I was really surprised to see so much of career experience. And I'd like to know more about you. So it's good that you can just quickly summarize your career experience and expertise.
Okay, thank you, RK. You've summed up a lot of things together. I really don't know whether I deserve so much of kudos and so much of, appreciation from your end, but thanks anyway. I've had around 22 years of full-time work experience. And for the last 5 years, I have been working as a consultant in the learning and development space. The 22 years of full-time work experience has been varied right from industries where it has gone to do with MLM, which is multi-level marketing. I have worked with telecom. I have worked in the education domain with organizations like Pearson. All through my career, though the major focus was on business development, but my core area of passion and what I have been contributing throughout has been in the learning and development space. So therein lay my passion and therein lay my desire to do something on my own. And therefore, 5 years back, I founded BRIM Training Solutions, which, as you rightly said, does delve into OD reengineering. And of course, we work on the learning and development space in total quality management. Of course, we are taking up NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming assignments. So that's the, a nutshell.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience in a nutshell. Now, one of my common questions to anyone whom I interview would be like, what's your career before lockdown and what's your career during lockdown and what's going to be after lockdown? But I cannot ask the same question to you because I know you're a person who has already gone virtual. Because that's the fact I can say. A lot of people, they are thinking now, it's good time to go virtual, but people like you have already gone virtual and you know that virtual learning is going to be the future. So in that way, I would like to ask you, what is the change you see in the learning and development industry and how is it going to impact the industry?
That's a fantastic question. But to be very honest, I had been in the virtual space, but not as seriously and as committedly as I am. Excuse me. So what I would like to, mention to you and very specifically on these lines is virtual space in terms of L&D is something which had to come. It had to come today or tomorrow, maybe 5 years hence. What this lockdown or what this crisis scenario the world over has created is it has fast forward the learning and development space altogether. And therefore people have quickly started transitioning into this. Few have already delved into it and started doing their sessions. Others are yet, sitting on the fringes and deciding how to go about it, which is not such a bad idea at all. Again, I have been more into physical interventions, to be very honest. And when I first delved into this, it was extremely, extremely challenging. It is still challenging. I'm still learning. The technology is different. Holding the attention span of the people or your trainees is absolutely difficult. Role plays and case studies, which in a physical environment is much easier to do, is of course not that easy. So you have to evolve. You have to evolve. You have to innovate. That's the biggest challenge which is lying in front of the L&D industry, and how to hold the attention, because there are a lot of people who are now going into B2C sphere, which is business to customers, rather than the B2B where it is directly with corporate. So when it comes to B2C, holding an attention frame for even a period of 40 minutes or a 45-minute webinar is no mean task. So that's the challenge. So going forward, what's going to happen is a lot of virtual learning is going to happen all across the world, like it happens in Europe, like it happens in all the other Western countries. The same thing is going to evolve and come into our country, and that's going to be a way of life. I'm not saying the physical interventions are going to stop, but this is something which is going to be a way of life, which people will evolve, learn, innovate, and therefore we as an industry in the future are definitely going to grow. A lot of interactive element will come in, which probably is not existing now, but that would come. So you already have, features like polling, and you have questions and assessments which can be done online. And these elements would generally take a bigger stage. It would take a bigger shape, and therefore all these will help the industry to evolve into a very big industry itself. That's my thought.
That's fantastic. You have a great vision and best wishes for that. And now coming to another question, there are so many people in the, when it comes for training industry, there are so many people saying they are into soft skill training. Same way, when it comes for L&D, learning and development, again, I could see a lot of people saying that I'm a learning and development expert. So what way you feel that you are so unique, and what is your USP, I can ask you, and how would you like to make difference in people's life?
That's a fantastic question once again. Very interesting. Yes, I agree with you, RK, that learning and development, somewhere it sounds cliched and generic, and many of the offerings which are there in the market, they look similar to each other. They look like a poor cousin or a twin of the other. Having said that, that's the bigger challenge. How better you can evolve. What is the value that you add to individuals? Now, since you've asked a very pointed question as to what I would like to do and what is the niche that I would specialize in, is, as you have seen in Brim Training Solutions, it's an end-to-end solution approach which I go for corporates. For individuals also, I would like to do it. Generally, what are the courses which I am launching? I would like to talk to you about one particular course, because this would probably enumerate the question that you have asked. And the name of the course is The Art of a Champion. Now, in The Art of a Champion, though it is a 10-lesson course which I am doing, but it has two categories, two batch sizes. One batch is meant for individuals between 16 and 20, and the other is between individuals of 21 and above. When it goes to 21 and above, it is not meant for professionals who are already established in the career. This course module has been customized and designed specifically to cater to people who are threshold or entry-level professionals or just into the industry. Not to coach them just on the rigors of the industry, but something beyond. So for people in the 16 to 20, I would cater to coach them. And it is not a finishing school program. So typically a GD and an interview and a resume writing is a very small part of that, very, very small. In fact, I would not delve too much in it because a lot of people are going for finishing school program. But what I would aim at is giving them an element of developing their passion. So if there is a core career which there is a commerce graduate or a CA studying student or somebody who's gone for an MBA, let them pursue their career. But probably they look at an alternative passion like a creative writing, a blogging, a vlogging, or a podcasting, or even a public speaker for that matter, or who knows, wants to become a facilitator or would like to improve their presentation skills. So here is the end-to-end solution that I would like to offer to them. Not only these 10 sessions, but one-to-one mentoring for 3 months after the course completion, and beyond the course completion, a 3-year complete without any payment, continuous guidance to these people. A lot of people will think this is unthinkable, this is not going to happen. You can test it, because I have already admissions for that, and that is specifically how I would go for this course. I would like to launch few of them if they want to become podcasters or bloggers into my own website. I would like them to build an alternative career apart from their core career. I don't want them to move away or shy away from the core career, but I would like to build them, and it would not remain only limited to these 10 sessions. It would go beyond. Handholding would go beyond on a one-to-one basis. So that's the kind of niche I look at. For corporates also, I look at similar kind of niche where where I would like to check, what is the effectiveness of a training program. So you need to, it's not just a training program and a feedback form filled up and then closed, shutters down. It has to have a 3-month, a 6-month, or a 9-month progress plan to see whether what they have learned in the room is getting executed in the workplace, and then do refresher training programs to ensure that whatever skill sets they have come in for in the room are actually getting upskilled and executed at the workplace to deliver the desired results.
That's fantastic. That's a great initiative, I would say, having a follow-up system regularly, the progressive follow. In fact, that was one of my, I had it in my mind to ask that question. Like most of the training programs or the coaching sessions, coaching programs fail because during the coaching program, people are excited, they do whatever you say. But after the sessions are over, probably they have 6 sessions, 8 sessions, or 10 or 12. After that, there is no follow-up system, and that is where the failure starts. So rightly pointed out that there should be a progressive follow-up over there. Do you have anything to add more over there? And what is your take on this? Like when others, they just stop with the coaching session without any follow-up, and you have been doing a fantastic job that you have a series of follow-up. Is there anything else you'd like to share regarding that?
I wouldn't say, I wouldn't like to imagine that I'm the only one who's thinking in this way. I'm sure there are a lot of people who are thinking because there's an expectation which is there. I would talk of two things. Think of the Pareto principle. Everybody on the L&D space would know about Pareto principle. Every businessman would know the Pareto principle, which says 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers. Don't forget that. Retain your customers. I have a program like that. Your customers are nobody's business. There's a program which is there. So that program is focusing on retaining your customers. So from there, this thought comes. So if you have your customers, take care of them. Don't think of them customers as temporary. Don't think that these customers will, spread word and mouth after you have done 10 sessions or 8 sessions and then forgotten, taken the money, done the training, done the learning and said, I've given what I had to give and shutters closed. Continue the mentoring process to whatever extent possible. Build on the processes and practices. Development in an individual doesn't come in 10 days or 10 months. It comes over years. So ensure that the practice happens. If it happens with corporates, if it happens with individuals, then definitely you are going to create a niche and you are actually following the Pareto principle. That's the only thought I wanted to share with you on this.
That's lovely, and definitely others can also follow this system. That would be of a great help for the society. And when I say help for the society, now comes another question. Do you think this learning and development industry has any responsibility towards the society? If so, how do you think you would be able to contribute to the society?
Okay. That's a very stiff question, if I may say so. Yes, if I were to say directly, yes, because it's learning and development, it's related to the education space. So we are educating people. So one might say, yes, we are contributing to the society. On the other hand, if you're contributing to the society in terms of building or upskilling people, enriching their learning space, beyond that also there is a social responsibility which is there. And that social responsibility, again, which I feel very, very strongly about is walk the talk. So, what you practice, only preach that. What you preach, you better practice. Do not talk of things which you have not been able to accomplish in your life. For example, I'll give you a very random example. If I were to talk about fitness, then I ought to be fit myself. If I were to ask you to do exercise on a daily basis and have a six-pack ab, I ought to have a six-pack ab myself. I know a lot of people who disagree with me saying that a coach is not necessarily the best player in the team. I agree with the fact, but that does not take away the fact that the coach practices the same amount of discipline, and that is where I'm coming from. So you ought to practice that discipline before you ask others. So you lead by example, walk the talk. If you are a leader, you ask your building leaders, you ought to be the leader first, showcase it, experience it, show it in front of people, display it, and then preach, not otherwise.
That's absolutely true. Discipline and the integrity, those are the very important factors, I would say. And of course, yes, I'm almost done with my questions, but there are a couple other questions based on our interview. I could say in your resume that incremental revenue generation, those words take curiosity in me. Can you just throw some thought on what is
Absolutely. That? Absolutely. See, generally in any form of business, we talk of a normal term, a generic term, which is known as ROI, which is return on investment. So any investment that happens in any form of business, the smallest amount of money or the smallest amount of time that I were to invest in something, and obviously time is probably the biggest investment on earth, I would like a value of that to return to me. So what is the time frame in which that return on investment has to happen? And what is the incremental revenue generation. So when we talk of incremental revenue generation, we are actually talking of the revenue is increasing, but the rate at which the growth is happening, that growth rate is increasing. That is what incremental revenue generation can happen. And there are fundamentally only two ways of doing that. One, retain your customers. Second, just extend your base. So because, with economies of scale, generally people tend to talk about a lot of margins which get increased. So my profit margins get increased. But what happens better is when you are able to retain your existing customers, so you automatically cut down in your costs in terms of advertising and publicity, and they do your publicity in terms of word of mouth. And therefore your brand becomes more bullish. Since it becomes more bullish, therefore incremental revenue starts generating, your product automatically starts growing. So that's where the return on investment and incremental revenue generation happens. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, indeed. Well, Mr. Abhishek, one last question, especially in this lockdown period. I'm a person who has been making use of this lockdown period in two ways. That is, one, I have been able to, I'm able to reach out to my audience because they are ready to listen to me now. I'm an online guy who has been giving so many programs online, but people are busy with their own commitments. Now they are in a position, they are ready to listen to me. That's one thing. Second thing, I have been getting trained by others also. I've been attending so many other webinars. I do have some time so that I can attend other webinars also. Same way, do you have any special programs coming up for our audience in this lockdown period and also post-lockdown period?
Yes, there are. As I already told you about the Art of Champion, the Art of a Champion is a program which, as I told you, is a 10-lesson program. And that program specifically looks at contributing to an individual. And as I told you, the mentoring should go on. It's a process. So that process is something which should not stop within or stay within the periphery of the lessons which are being delivered. Once the lessons are over, the effectiveness has to be plotted, charted, and seen that the execution of the same happens in right? So that's one thing which needs to happen. My website is, in the process of being launched, where these programs will be launched. These short-term programs would also be there. A few long-term recorded programs would also happen. Of course, the live program options are always there for people who would like to upgrade into something bigger. Yes, so that is there, that exists. That would be available very shortly, and I will keep you informed on the same.
Thank you, Mr. Abhishek. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time with me joining this interview. And the audience, if you'd like to contact Mr. Abhishek, you can definitely approach us, and he'll be able to help you with whatever the services he's offering. Thank you once again, Mr. Abhishek.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Take care. Thank you for inviting me. Wish you all the best, RK, and your team.
It's my pleasure. And audience, if you'd like to get featured in this interview, if you'd like to get interviewed, you can definitely contact us.